Even the country's oldest Latino civil rights group came out against it. AOC keeps defending it, saying gender is fluid, language is fluid. Yes, and Latino voters are fluid. Redress the past, or reach out to the gettable white voter who says, you know what, I'd like a shot at getting in the pot business. But to do that, our entire audience.
So, you'll remember when the woke crowd shoved the word Latinx down everyone's throats as a new way to label people from South America, only for the actual community to laugh it off and reject it? Well, apparently AOC and her crew are still clinging to that term, even though they've tried to deny ever using it before. But Emma isn't buying that revisionist nonsense. On Real Time with Bill Maher, he ripped into the absurdity of it all. So, smash that subscribe button and let's dive right in.
Last week, an 85% Latino congressional district on the border with Mexico, which had always voted heavily Democratic, flipped to the red team. And the campaign manager for the losing Democrat said, "We gave up a reliably Democratic congressional seat for no reason at all. We deserve to know why." Well, aside from your terrible attitude, I'm going to tell you why. Because these voters stopped seeing your candidate as their lawyer.
Bill kicks things off by serving the Democrats a reality check they never asked for but desperately needed. He reminds them why Trump, yes, the guy they swore had no chance, not even a dog's chance, managed to flip some of their precious seats. See, going into the election, Democrats were patting themselves on the back, sipping lattes, and telling each other it was already in the bag. All they had to do was show up on election day, toss confetti, and wait for the victory parade. Except voters weren't exactly reading from the same script. Turns out their constituents had already decided to vote for Trump. Why? Because their so-called champions in office couldn't be bothered to actually stand up for the people who elected them. Shocker, right? It's almost like ignoring your base while obsessing over identity politics, and virtue signaling doesn't exactly guarantee loyalty. Who knew?
Their message to you was, I'm an American now. I'm here. Be my lawyer, not the lawyer for the migrants showing up in my backyard. Every month I see a new poll reporting how much Latinos despise the woke term Latinx. It's about as popular with them as a reboot of Speedy Gonzales.
Democrats somehow thought it was a brilliant idea to prioritize defending immigrants who couldn't even cast a vote for them over the very people who actually put them in office. Talk about political genius. Ignore your voters and pander to a group that can't even participate in the system. And just when you thought the clown show couldn't get any better, they decided to sprinkle some woke fairy dust on the whole mess by pushing the term Latinx. Because nothing says we understand you quite like forcing a word on an entire community that openly hates it. Poll after poll showed Hispanic voters rejecting the term. But the Democrats still treated it like gospel, as if cultural condescension was the secret sauce to winning elections. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Instead, they alienated the very people they needed most, handing Trump a political gift he didn't even have to ask for.
Even the country's oldest Latino civil rights group came out against it, yet AOC keeps defending it, saying gender is fluid, language is fluid. Yes, and Latino voters are fluid.
AOC has made a career out of defending every woke idea under the sun, convinced that parroting progressive buzzwords will somehow keep her audience hypnotized. So, it's no shock she's now rushing to defend the absurd term Latinx, a word overwhelmingly rejected by the very community she claims to represent. The irony: AOC loves to market herself as this gritty Bronxorn champion of the people. But let's be honest, that's more political branding than reality. She wasn't raised in the Bronx the way she loves to brag about, and her lived experience is far removed from the struggle she pretends to embody. Sure, she's got Latino heritage somewhere in her bloodline, but identity isn't just a box you check on a form. It's lived culture, language, and tradition. And in that sense, AOC comes across far more white and performative than genuinely Latino. No wonder her pandering feels forced.
And more of them now than ever are identifying as Republican. So are Asian Americans, whose support for Democrats is down 16 points since the last election. A lot of that is because, in the name of achieving equity in schools, Democrats in deep blue cities have made it a mission to eliminate the advanced programs at which Asian kids excel. Asian parents said, okay, I wish all kids well, not a racist, but I need someone who acts like my lawyer.
What the woke mob refuses to admit is that by gutting advanced courses, the very ones Asian students often thrive in, they're not promoting equity. They're dumbing down education itself. Excellence is being sacrificed on the altar of feelings, and the result is mediocrity for everyone. Think about it. If you strip away opportunities for high achievers to excel, what incentive is left for anyone else to push themselves harder? Why study late into the night? Why grind to improve if you'll still be handed the same rank and recognition as the kid who barely cracked open a book? The ripple effect is brutal. Kids of other races lose their role models, their benchmarks, their reason to chase higher standards instead of lifting others up to meet excellence. The woke agenda drags excellence down to meet complacency. That's not progress. It's sabotage disguised as fairness. And the biggest losers, every student in America.
If you're a parent and wanted schools to reopen a lot sooner than they did after COVID shutdowns, or think maybe your kid is getting a bad education partly because it's nearly impossible to fire a lousy teacher, yeah, you're going to say, congratulations, teachers, you got yourself a good lawyer. The Democratic Party's always got your back, 100%. But I've noticed my kid is kind of an idiot. So I may be looking for new representation.
There's really no measuring the damage woke ideals are inflicting on our education system. And by extension, the future leaders this country will depend on. Sure, the DNC's reign might technically be over, but the wreckage they left behind in the education sector is still very much with us. We're living through the ripple effects of their disastrous policies every single day. Just look at today's classrooms. Kids aren't as sharp, competitive, or disciplined as the students of past generations. And why? Because the Democrats' so-called reforms didn't elevate students. They handicapped them. Instead of raising standards, they lowered the bar, slapped on feel-good labels like equity, and called it progress. The result is a generation less prepared, less ambitious, and less capable of critical thinking. Education was supposed to be the great equalizer, but under woke management, it's becoming the great dumbing down. And that's not just failure, it's sabotage.
President Biden wants to cancel hundreds of billions of dollars in student debt. Okay, but the poorer 2/3 of American kids who don't get a college degree are going to say, why should the people who didn't go to college and make less money subsidize the people who did go and make more? You want me to chip in so some liberal arts college can build a bigger rock wall? You're not my lawyer.
And that right there is another reason so many people are fed up with the Democrats, their obsession with canceling student loan debt. On the surface, it sounds compassionate, but dig a little deeper, and it's nothing more than a vote-buying scheme wrapped in moral posturing. These students knowingly took out loans, fully aware that the degree they were chasing came with a price tag. And guess what? Most of them can actually get jobs to pay it off. That's how responsibility works. You borrow, you repay. Aside from building character, paying off debt instills hard work, financial discipline, and a real understanding of sacrifice. But instead of reinforcing those life lessons, Democrats are busy promoting handouts and entitlement culture, teaching young people that accountability is optional if you cry loud enough. That's not leadership. It's pandering. And voters are finally waking up to the scam.
A universal basic income probably sounds pretty good to a lot of people struggling without a college degree. And a number of cities have been running pilot programs in guaranteed income. But the West Hollywood program had to be suspended because it was unconstitutional. They set up a program where 25 residents were to get $1,000 for 18 months, but only if you identified as LGBT, the rest of that. Why? Because they need money more than any other people? Because no one in West Hollywood will hire a gay person?
Left had made pandering to the LGBTQ plus community their political love language, acting as if they're the only group in America facing real struggles. Every speech, every policy rollout, every virtue signaling stunt seems laser-focused on pleasing this one bloc. But here's the glaring question. What about everyone else? What about straight men and women trying to make ends meet? What about other racial and cultural groups who feel completely sidelined? By pouring so much energy into catering to one community, Democrats sent a clear message to millions of other voters. You don't matter as much. Sure, they scored points and grabbed votes from the LGBTQ plus base. But politics isn't a one-group game. While they were busy obsessing over appeasing one segment, they alienated countless others, and the ballot box reflected it. Neglect has consequences, and the Democrats learned the hard way that pandering isn't the same as governing.
When he ran in 2020, Bernie Sanders said he would legalize marijuana on his first day as president, but that the business of selling pot would be awarded first to those who suffered most from the drug war. And you know what? I can't argue with that instinct. The drug war has been a horrendous instrument of prejudice and punishment for racial minorities. So it seems fair that they jumped the line for weed franchises the way Indians did for casinos. But it's also what's holding up Republican support for legalizing weed nationally, which would be good for everybody. And these are the hard, practical choices the Democrats have to weigh.
We all know how near and dear the pot business is to Bill Maher's heart. He practically treats it like a religion. So, imagine his delight now that the Republicans of all people are gearing up to push for national legalization thanks to a recent announcement by President Trump. That's right. The same party Maher has spent years mocking could be the one to give him what has been begging Democrats to deliver for decades. The irony is delicious. And let's be honest, if Republicans actually follow through, it's going to throw Maher into a serious identity crisis. Does he stick with his liberal tribe that's all talk and no action? Or does he swallow his pride, light up, and admit that the GOP actually got it done? One thing's for sure, if weed really does go national under Trump, don't be surprised if Maher starts